undocumented immigrants to purchase a home.
If passed, California would become the first state to grant them state-supported home loans. Our Conan Nolan is live in the newsroom with the next steps. Conan.
That's right. This legislation refers to a California state program, but it could have national ramifications, particularly in an election year. It's legislation in Sacramento receiving national attention, a first-in-the-nation effort to allow undocumented immigrants state money for the purchase of a home. The bill's author, Assemblyman Joaquin Arambula of Fresno.
The social and economic benefits of homeownership should be accessible to everyone, regardless of immigration status.
For those who qualify under the California Dream for All program, the state would pay the 20% down payment for a first-time home buyer, up to $150,000. Assembly Bill 1840 would amend the program so that those in the country in violation of federal law would also be eligible.
Undocumented individuals have historically been excluded from housing initiatives because of federal restrictions. Ensuring universal access by all qualified borrowers to the California Dream for All program will contribute to the overall success and vitality of California.
Backlash has been swift.
And now you got California trying to get homes for illegal immigrants? Are you kidding me?
California Senate Minority Leader Brian Jones.
Every dollar that goes to an illegal immigrant is a dollar not going to our veterans or other Californians, other legal residents or citizens that also qualify for that money. This isn't an unlimited bucket of money that the state has available for these homebuyer programs.
Evan Simon has been covering the vote for the political website California Globe. He says passage of the bill is nearly assured.
There's enough progressive Democrats right now in Sacramento who will get it passed. That's why all eyes are on Newsom.
Governor Gavin Newsom has not said if he will sign the bill, which could complicate the party's messaging this election year on the volatile immigration issue. Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris has endorsed funding for the border wall. She's also backed a modest federal home down payment grant, but one that excludes undocumented immigrants. Donald Trump has already condemned the California legislation.
So if this comes up during a debate, say the debate next month, it can be a talking point for sure.
The staff for Assemblyman Arambula said who is the author of the bill, said that he is not giving interviews currently, at least until the vote will be taken, possibly by this weekend. Supporters of the measure point out that only those with a taxpayer ID and a Social Security number would be eligible, meaning only those who are undocumented and have been here for years, most probably working, would be eligible for the program. I'm Conan Nolan.
Support reparations for Black people.
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination and segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, Black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of Black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects Black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole in the country. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole in the country. Right?
My name is Jasmine Woodson.
Hi, my name is Silla.
I'm Karen Watson. I'm Yolanda Johnson from Georgia.
This is BB Diamond from New York City.
I'm Dana Galen, and I'm from Tampa, Florida.
I live in Hagerstown, Maryland.
Out here in Maricopa County.
Kalamazoo County, Michigan.
I am a proud African immigrant living in Florida.
I'm from the great state of New Jersey.
I'm Angelina from Philly, and this November, I am not voting for Kamala Harris.
I am not voting for Kamala Harris.
I'm not voting for Kamala Harris.
I am not with Kamala Harris.
I am not with her. I'm not with her.
I am not with Kamala Harris.
I'm not with Kamala.
I am not for Kamala. I am for Donald Trump.
I am not with Kamala.
I am not with her because she is not with me.
I support President Trump and the economic policies our country experienced under his leadership as our 45th president.
President Trump will support our law enforcement agencies and fund them appropriately.
Donald Trump made me proud to be an American. I'm with Donald J. Trump.
We need a leader who can make America great again.
Trump puts Americans first, and he always will.
We need Donald Trump.
I and millions of other Black Americans will cast my vote for Donald J. Trump.
I will proudly cast my vote for Donald J. Trump as our next president. Let's make America great again.
Where Kamala Harris served as district attorney for almost 10 years. Kamala was in charge of crime, and her record is nothing close to what Democrats wish it was. She ruined lives. She literally ruined lives while she was district attorney and attorney general, like that of Jamal Truelove, an aspiring filmmaker and actor who was wrongfully convicted of murder. He was arrested for the murder of his friend who was shot in a public housing project, his dreams crushed, but a California appeals court overturned that conviction and was eventually acquitted. Truelove's attorneys argue that the police here in San Francisco actually manipulated witnesses into wrongfully identifying Truelove as the shooter. And I sat down with Jamal Truelove today to get his side of his life-changing story. Take a look. Jamal, thanks so much for being with us. I want to go back to 2010. It's verdict day. The jury's deliberated for the last 4 days. You're going to find out if you're going to jail for the rest of your life. By the way, for something you did not do. Kamala Harris is district attorney in California at that time, the first black district attorney. Take it from there. Take me through what happened.
Indian,
well,
first
on that
Indian.
day of conviction,
remember Shane Black?
I kind of already knew I was convicted before it even came out because the jury asked the question, what's the difference between first-degree murder and second-degree murder? So just at the time, in my mind, it was like, you know, how can this happen? How can this be? And what will be the timeline of me potentially, you know, getting back off of this, which is a 99% chance that I don't get back off of this life sentence. So it was eerie, and it was very it was emotional. You know, one can imagine.
You said that Kamala had a look on her face. She was laughing, smiling, which to me, by the way, which is just very bizarre.
Yes, 100%. So when I did come into the courtroom and sit down, and when you had this whole side on the prosecution side fully packed with all types of attorneys and other people or whatnot, and on my side it was pretty empty. And Kamala Harris sat front row for when the sentencing came down. And, you know, when I looked back just to see, you know, who was there in general, and you see her front row, you know, kind of in this celebration mode, laughing. You know, we locked eyes one time, and it did feel like, you know, she was laughing at me. That's how I felt. But the laugh was similar to what you see her laugh now, right? Yeah. After any celebration or any, you know, discomfort of any sort, she just laughs. And, you know, now I didn't know that at the time that was kind of like her thing or whatnot, but I took it personal. That this lady that is head district attorney of San Francisco that is presumptuously black, right, is laughing at me.
Why was she even in the courtroom? Was your case that public here in the Bay Area that she felt the need to be there in the front row on the day that the jury read the verdict?
Yeah, I had a very publicized case because I was previously on a reality show called I Love New York, and it's a murder case. I mean, San Francisco's only 7 by 7. There's not too many murders that's happening, and you have to know that having that on your record, a conviction record of convicting murderers, right, was something that she was running on. And you got to think about, she was running for Attorney General at the time. Right. So for her, at any time she could, celebrate her doing her job or whatnot, then, she made it a point to show up and make a comment after as well.
You going to vote for Kamala Harris in November?
No, absolutely not. I'm voting Trump this year.
Do you feel like there are a lot of people in the African-American community and the black community that feel the same way about Kamala versus Trump now?
Yes, 100%. I mean, what I get from my community, the black community, and I'm not talking about the super, left-wing media black community. I'm talking about people every day, people that I see and talk to in rural areas and so forth, that says, the only thing that Kamala's ever did for black people was lock black people up. And that played a big part to our culture. Our culture is known for black people going to jail, coming home, rapping about it, and being celebrated, about it as well. But from what I get from the people that I talk to, that they're not voting for Kamala Harris, and they're not voting for Kamala Harris just because she's black, neither. They're voting for Trump. They don't want to vocalize it in public too much because you get demonized, which in a lot of aspects, I'm being demonized right now because I'm going against, the status quo of the black vote, which in the past 2 elections, I believe it was like 90% of black people, voted, Democratic, which I think is just, so far beyond, how we really feel on a day-to-day, having conversations about politics, not as a politician, but just from information that we take in.
How long did you spend in jail, Jamal?
I spent 6.5 years in prison.
You'll never get that time back?
I'll never get it back.
Tell me about that.
Well, living in prison is a whole different type of lifestyle that you have to live, right? That you can almost never reflect on once you're free. So it's 6.5 years of not growing, in this world in general. And it also puts a magnifying glass on the life that I was living for the first 23 years, that I can't live that way. And now I was forced to live in prison for 6.5 years, and I can't live that way. And now I have to create a life outside of those two lifestyles, like a newborn, and really relearn, reality for me, and also the exposure to, the mass majority of America, and not just my section.
I've been in San Francisco for a couple of days now. Used to live in California.
Yeah.
Used to spend time up here. Beautiful city.
Yeah.
World-class city.
Beautiful city.
I don't know what's going on now, but it's not the city that I remember.
Yeah.
And I think about, okay, well, who's been in charge here for the last, recent history? Well, it's always been Democrats. You think about Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom, former mayor, Kamala Harris, district attorney, attorney general, then ran for the Senate 2016. London Breed, Democratic mayor, running for re-election this year, so she's trying to clean things up. What do you make of what's happened? And I know you split your time between here and Los Angeles for professional reasons and family.
Yeah.
What do you make of what's changed in this city, say, over the last 10 years?
Well, 10 years ago, I was still in prison, which is, crazy. But If I could tell you what I make up of the city now compared to what I anticipated living in when I was coming up in San Francisco, it is not the San Francisco I envisioned to live in. When you look at the homeless problem here in San Francisco, the way that politics have ran rampant over the original San Franciscans.
But yet they're going to give 150 to illegal immigrants to purchase homes. And Americans been here forever and still living on the streets. Peoples, if y'all don't wake up,
And made sure that they prioritize what we call surrogates here in San Francisco. It's offensive.
Jamal, you're 39 years old. You've got a bright future. I'm so glad you're able to be with us here and not behind bars.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you telling your story.